The strongest defense against teenage pregnancy, it's not just contraception. It is an arsenal of communication, education, and a community that cares. Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of Adolescence Unfiltered, where we bring to you true talks and unfiltered stories. This podcast is brought to you by the Health and Family Welfare Department, Meghalaya. I am your host, Evangeline, and I have with me today two experts guests. If you would just please introduce yourself to the podcast.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Mar Babiangs Imli. I am the Associate Professor as well as the Dean of the School of Social Work from Martin Luther Christian University. I think I love to work with adolescents. Many of my research work actually are with adolescents. I started, my first research work was with women actually, was with single mothers. And then I delved into adolescents, where one of the research studies that we have done is on teenage pregnancy, that is one. And then we have also done other studies with children as well. So, and we have also done a lot of sensitization program, talk with adolescents, understand adolescents. And I've also have the opportunity to get trained also on how do you work with adolescents and children. So adolescents is very close to my heart. And so that is my background basically.
Hearing your portfolio, really perfect for our podcast. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, hi, I'm Nadine Pakanten. As of right now, I am the Associate Dean of Students in Martin Luther Christian University. I am also a faculty in the School of Social Work along with Dr. Marba. So we've been working together with students, with youth, with adolescents for so many years. And we feel that this is something that where our passion lies. So this is where we're sticking by as educators, as people who are working with students in your age, I guess.
Thank you so much for the both of you for being here. I mean, before we start the podcast, I would just like us to watch our promo, just so we get a gist of what this podcast is all about.
Yeah, all right. Let's go.
I got your message, but I don't know what to do.
Hello? Where are you right now? Yeah, well, I just talked to him and he's confused too. What do I do? I don't know what to do.
I don't know. You want to ask your mom, maybe?
Where do I find answers?
So yeah, that's like the whole idea of our podcast. As you can see, we have a scene whereby a boy was just
Wanting to find answers,
and the first thing they go to is Google,
Right.
or maybe their friends. Hello, I've done this, done that. So the central theme of our podcast is on teenage pregnancy, and I couldn't have thought of better guests to have other than you guys, because I know you've done research on teenage pregnancy. That is a report on teenage pregnancy with a special focus on familiar, legal, and social cultural context in Meghalaya, India. So if you would just brief the audience on what have you found throughout this research.
Just a little bit, just an overview first about what is teenage pregnancy. Teenage pregnancy is, when we talk about teenage pregnancy, is any teen who is below the age of 19 years who got pregnant. So although we have had cases in the past, but I think this is something that has come into the limelight now, where government has actually taken initiative of finding out. We do have a lot of studies when they've done about teenage pregnancy in terms of health and all of that, but we don't really know about the contributing factors of it. And looking at the statistics of teenage pregnancy, we find that Meghalaya has a percentage about 7.9%, which is higher than the national average of 6.8%. And that is something that we cannot ignore, and something that, we have to actually take attention. And I'm so glad that, your podcast is actually taking this topic, which is a very interesting topic and also very sensitive, but it has to be talked about so that we do not find teens like that to say, whom should I talk to when I, where should I go and meet? We don't want them to go to, to your friends or Google, So things like that.
So through your research, like what are the contributing factors that lead towards problems like teenage pregnancy?
So this study that we both of us were involved in this, the study is actually, we did it as a mixed method research. Basically, we include both quantitative as well as qualitative research, where we have a lot of qualitative data as well. But when we look at one of the factors that I would say is there is a lack of sex education among these adolescents. That is one. Second is we find that love is one of the reasons. The love is one of the reasons that they say, because we spoke to some of the adolescents and we asked them what make you to actually involve in a sexual relationship. They said, they said among the girls, they said it's out of love. I love this boy. It's so true. You will give anything for love. We can understand. We've all been through that age, and I really empathize with them. I can really understand that. And then but among the boys, although our sample is very small among the boys because we couldn't find so much among the boys, but among the boys, what do they say? Curiosity.
Okay.
Very curious
They're
about
curious.
They're very curious about it, and it's actually they wanted to explore among themselves because if we are both friends, I'll say, hey,
I've done it.
actually experienced sex, and no, okay, don't you want to experience it, or you are,
And then that peer pressure thing happens.
Peer pressure.
Start teasing each other, or you haven't had sex yet.
Yes. So there's a
those type of
culture of
things.
making fun of those who are still a virgin.
yes.
Although it's stigmatized by society or looked out, frowned upon if you were to engage in physical activities before you actually get married.
Right.
But there are cultures whereby I won't say promote, but then if it does happen,
Yes.
they just go along with it. And
You
just,
have to understand that there's a generation
gap.
thing that happens, no? Our generation is of a different generation. We are millennials.
Yeah.
And our youngsters are now the Gen Z.
Gen Z.
So there, the practice of sex is actually quite different from
What it
time,
used to
no?
be. So if you look back then, I feel like the main purpose would just be to have a family. But now teenagers are out there because due to maybe they're like very equipped with whatever they want through social media and their phone.
Access to information, I would say, compared to our times, During our times, the development that takes place is the same during our times and during the Gen Zs. But during our times, we don't have cable network.
Yeah.
We don't have mobile phone. We don't know what is that internet. We have never seen a computer. But what do we do? Get excited about through these magazines.
Yes.
Right? That we see, some magazine that we see, and we get excited by those.
Yeah.
And that's all.
That's it.
And interestingly, through the books, reproductive health in science class, which we are so excited.
Yeah.
When that chapter comes on reproductive, we just wait,
Reproduction.
teacher, when will they talk? And then the teacher will say, you read
read
on your own. And
Skip the chapter.
So, but then it stops there, right? And our mind is very curious. We need to understand that about the adolescent's brain. Their mind is very active. But now, if the teacher said read on your own, they're very happy. Then what will they go? Google. Yeah, and when you type to Google, you know what sort of information is there. It's not the right kind of education that they're supposed to receive. And if I may add, that could be one of the causes of so many of these child sexual abuse cases also, that can lead from that. Although we have not done a research yet, but through the cases that, because we work very closely with the State Child Protection Society, we work closely with them. We had cases like these as well. So it could be, perhaps could be one of the factors. Yeah.
Okay, so one is peer pressure.
Right.
And then curiosity.
Right.
And maybe the biological factors that adds to its teenage pregnancy.
Yes.
They're curious, their hormones are starting to develop, but they're just
That
at
is normal.
peak. Yeah, that's normal.
That's normal.
So what are the other factors that you have found through your research?
Another factor we found that is, which is really come up from the qualitative data of ours, is the family environment. It's really sad to see. I remember when we actually analyzing this data, I was reading these voices that we hear from these teenagers. It's really sad to hear that they say that, oh, I come from a family where I don't get that love and affection from my parents. That is one. I come from a family where I always see my parents fighting all the time. I come from a family whereby I see my father come home drunk and beat my mother every time. So these are some of the things. So how do I get out from this? This adolescent like screaming inside of their mind. How do I get out? And I'm not getting that love and attention from the family, which is supposed to give the love and attachment. That's what, when you look at the theory, psychological theories, it all talks about that. And then that's when they start seeking find out
Validation.
relationships and love from outside,
Outside.
from outside the family.
Yes.
So it's really sad. I was not expecting that. When we
Yes.
actually analyze this data, that is really sad. Yeah, to see that.
So
to the
I
point
feel
that they want to actually, start their own family.
start their own
So that's
family
a
just to
big
break the cycle of
They
maybe
thought that that's a way out, no?
that's a way out. Along comes a teenage boy,
Yes.
also delusional and still don't know what like the impacts of
Correct.
actually getting married early or getting pregnant early.
Another factor is poverty. We cannot deny to the fact that many of our population in Meghalaya, they're living below poverty line.
Yes.
And many of these teenage, kids, I would say, they see poverty as a way out.
Yeah.
Sorry, not poverty. I
Marriage.
mean the teenage pregnancy or getting love. Pregnancy is a way out of poverty.
Yeah.
So if I'm able to find love and I could leave my home, then perhaps that could be I could be out of that poverty. But we need to understand here the adolescent's brain here. They are not able to take such time of decisions because they're too young. Whatever base of decision, they make it based on the emotions.
Yeah.
They cannot actually see what is going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? So poverty is another one.
Or if you look at poverty from a different angle, is that because I am in poverty, I have to stop going to school.
Right.
And if I stop going to school, I have to start working. So
Yeah.
the mindset is such that now that I've started working, I
Feel like an adult. Yes.
So I can have consensual sexual relationships with somebody else and start my own family.
Yeah.
So that is also another angle to
If not from the teenagers side, maybe they're not ready, but if the parents are like, oh, I have too many kids and it's a burden on me to raise these children and go, you get married, and they would actually make their own kids, even though they're still very young. I know there are like a lot of cases like that, I'm sure.
Yes, yeah. There are many cases like that. Also, I think as adults, we cannot deny ourselves, keep on denying that our kids are not into any sexual relationship. They are too young, they are too innocent.
Yeah.
I think we need to remove all of those thoughts, because when you look at our research, we found that the sexual debut of children nowadays is as early as 13 years of age. So they're becoming sexually active at 13 years of age. So we cannot say that they don't know. They don't not know from the parents or from the guardians around them, but they do know about it. They are sexually active. We need to accept that. The moment I personally feel, and perhaps maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, if we as adults actually understand that these children, they actually are capable of doing this, they're able to understand what's sex, then we'll be able to guide them, and then we'll be able to break that silence of the sex taboo, that we don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, especially in families. We've discussed this in previous episodes whereby mothers are very hesitant. Like they just keep thinking, oh, she's my baby.
Yes.
They speak to them like children, and they are totally ignoring or like they're not accepting the fact that they're growing up and they're starting to have urges and needs, and these are all normal, and just ignoring it and not talking about it is just going to make them more curious, and I want to see or want to explore. Teenagers phase is as such, right? They want to explore everything. And that first phase, that love, I don't know, in Kasi we call it kajing itadat yaubay. I don't know if it is scientifically proven or not, but it's like they first started liking someone, and if that person also gives the same kind of attention, so they're bound to make mistakes, especially if they're not informed or not taught about sex education.
Right. So with that kind of a love, that they say, the puppy love, that they say. Puppy love, they say. So usually what happens is that because there's a lot of changes in their body, their hormones, because of the hormones, it actually make them to like. It's not like I sleep and then the morning, oh, like this guy. It's nothing like that. Most of the time we actually thought like that. You just like someone. How come you're a 12-year-old, you like someone? It's nothing like that. It's just that the changes in the body, the hormones make them to actually have that kind of a sexual need, the sexual urge that they actually have because of these hormone changes. And we need to understand that, as adults. So once we need to understand that, then we'll be open to talk about, about the physical changes, and then what are the needs and how do we address this, things like that.
I mean, talking with teenagers, I've noticed that those who have a good communication with their parents are like very less likely to go through that rebellious phase and I want to try out everything, because whatever that is, they need to know, they're finding out from their parents or their guardians or from school, they're learning from school. So if you compare children who have very strict parents, are very conservative, they are like more rebellious and they're more, it means, what do I say? Vulnerable towards these problems.
Many of the other social issues, they're very vulnerable. They want to. Because I remember as an adolescent as well, I like to be rebellious. My parents say no. why?
Why
You know,
go?
why? They don't understand me.
Yes.
And that's the same thing that adolescents are saying right now. They don't understand me.
Yes.
Whether you talk about children who are into substance use, whether you talk about children who are into teenage pregnancy, they don't understand me. It means us, we don't
Yes.
understand them. You know, so that is their voices that they are saying till now. I've been saying it,
Yeah.
and these kids are saying it now. The same thing, yeah.
So
I,
I think
you're still rebellious till now.
I don't know. I don't know.
She's still rebellious.
I mean, if it's for a good cause, there's no harm. So, what are the impacts? Like you have a hands-on experience with cases of teenage pregnancy. So, what are the impacts that you see that is very common with teenagers going through teenage pregnancy?
There are many impacts if you look at it from the point of view of teenage pregnancy. Firstly, let's look at it from the point of view of health. If a child as young as 13 or 14 years old is pregnant and their body is not actually really developed to the point where they can actually have a child of their own, it affects them badly. And the next thing we found that in our study is that once a child is pregnant, they don't really go to the right people for help. Firstly, because they are scared of consequences. Like if I go and ask for help in a hospital, the doctor will reprimand me and my partner.
Yes.
So that is there. It's part of our law as well. If you look at POCSO 2012, it's there. So what do? They don't talk about it until it's very too late. Let's say right before they give birth, or the last month, the 9th month. That time they'll tell their parents, I am pregnant. So that impacts their health from that point of view.
Right.
If you look at it from the point of view of education, if I was 14 years old and I got pregnant, my parents will tell me to stop going to school.
Yeah.
Because many of them come from a low socioeconomic background.
Yes.
That is also the fact, no?
So that is also one thing.
I mean, as teenagers, I think they are not ready to take up that big of a role, right, on
they're
themselves.
not.
Like,
They do realize towards the
Towards the end.
later. They would say that actually it's not something that they are ready for.
Because we asked them, we actually asked them, are you actually ready, to become a mother?
Yeah.
It's like, no. Like about 95 to 96% of them said, no, we are not ready to become mothers.
Yeah.
The pregnancy makes them to become mother because they don't want to go for an abortion, because they don't want to give the child for adoption. So they have to do it because, how can you actually throw your child, So, I mean, when you look at the Khasi or the Janji or the Garo culture, our family are very close-knit. We take care of each other no matter what happened. And that is, I really appreciate that. Unlike other cultures of the world, we never leave our own blood, no matter what happened. So that is one of the reasons, that is one of the causes that they say we are not ready. They are actually not ready to become mothers at all. It's just like a shock. Then they realize now, because by the end of the interview, when we had this interview, we say that, what are the suggestions that you would want? They said we would want this to actually make other adolescents aware, because we don't want them to be in our shoe. These are the adolescents' voice, not my voices. These are the adolescents, teenage mothers who have been teenage mothers. They don't want others to be like them. So they understood that after it's too late, I would say.
It's so sad they're actually missing out on a lot of their teenage years.
Right.
They're not haven't fully gone through.
So true. Yeah.
Haven't had all the fun, and then later when they have kids, they would want to experience, and then they would be turned on like,
Yes.
she already has a kid. Why is she behaving like a single person? Or, like, it's very frowned upon. It's sad also.
That's
And
stigma
yesterday I was
there.
just having a conversation with this girl. She's very smart. She's like, we should not support teenage pregnancy, but we should support teenage mothers.
Right.
Just because they're going through
Exactly.
it, it doesn't mean that we will, shun them or like look down upon them, right? They've already gone through it, and it's a continuous cycle. I feel if you're a teenage mother, it's like a normal thing for you. Like even if your kid has, get married, get pregnant early, it's like it happens. It's like
Become a cycle also,
becomes a
because so see, for example, if I'm a teenage mother, I come from a family of poverty. Now there's no assurance that I will get a very good established job, because my education will be just class 7 or class 8. Right. So now I don't know whether my partner of mine will stay with me, which he also will be very young, mostly very young. So I don't know. So there is no assurance that my parents can take care of me as well as my child. So I will not be able to give my best to my child. So my child also will probably drop out halfway because I live in poverty, or I might remarry, which I don't know what kind of whether my husband will actually take care of my child, my new husband. So it become a cycle like that. And that cycle of poverty continues. So that's the scariest part of it.
Yeah.
The cycle of poverty continues because there has been a study, they say that if you want to get out of poverty, it requires one generation. Meaning that my parents, they are in that level. So if I want to get out of this poverty, my parents have to work a little bit extra so that I will be better off.
Yeah.
Then in my also I have to work a little better off so that I can get out of poverty. But provided you will be able to do that only if you have the resources available. But if you don't have the resources available, you're stuck at that level, no? So that's why the poverty continues. That's the scariest part of it. Yeah.
So what are the other impacts of teenage pregnancy?
One is the lack of nurturing skills. Many of them said, I'm still very young. Imagine a 16-year-old taking care of a child. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I don't know how to handle the child. The child is crying at night. I don't know how to handle. Because we found that there are some of these, teenage mothers who said that initially the parents are very angry. It's so normal.
Yeah.
If my child also happened like that, would be mad also. Okay, but that's besides the point. The point here we want to make is that many of these parents, they're not accepting initially.
Yeah.
Eventually they will accept. So that is a phase of difficulty. They got no support from the family. They got no support from the partner, which many cases this partner does not stay with them.
Yeah.
Some of the parents said, how can we allow them to stay together? Otherwise, she will be pregnant again every year. They are in that age, reproductive age. They're very young. So we don't. So they end up, they don't get that kind of a support, which, after pregnancy, I think after childbirth, we need that kind of a support. So lack of nurturing skills, they don't know how to handle it. That is another one. And of course, no support from the partner, especially. There's no support from the partner. And being a single mother is not a joke. It's very difficult to be a single mother as well. And I forgot the source, but I see that one of the factors of the highest number of single mothers, we are in the third highest in the country with the highest number of single mothers in the country. And they say that many of these cases are from these teenage mothers. They are single mothers. So that's why, this is something that need to be looked at.
Yeah.
Teenage pregnancy will lead to all the other problems as well. So we need to take grasp of it and, and this.
I feel one of the reason for being lots of the number of teenage mothers, single mothers is because they get pregnant again very early on. They don't know what they want in a partner.
Yeah.
So, and even the partner doesn't know what he wants and how he's not reached this level of maturity at that. I'll have to take on responsibility. Even the partner wants to, just like avoid his responsibility altogether. So
because they're also very young.
Yeah, they're still very young.
The partner also is very young, not really sure what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Suddenly a child is here. What am I going to do?
And speaking realistically, boys can just like I'm out of this, and then bye bye, and they can do it. They can actually do it. But whereas for a woman, you're
That's
carrying
a
the
responsibility.
child.
Yes. But I will not say, I don't want to actually blame the boys also, but I understand from the men perspective as well. Yes, it's very easy for them to abandon them, to abandon the mother. Okay. But again, when we talk about teenage mothers in particular here, when we talk about teenage partners, I would say, these teenage partners also, it keep them in a very difficult spot.
Yeah.
They suddenly realize that, I have a child, then I have to take care of it. How do I start working? Now I have to start working. Where do I search work?
It's overwhelming even for them.
Yes, so much for him also. And then there will be the family members also who will say, no. So if you have good family members, who will support, they say, okay, we will support the baby, but don't stay together, we'll support the baby. But then there will always be people, there will always be people, it's not your child, or how do you make sure, all of that. So those are the challenges that perhaps maybe become difficult. Although they are very sexually active, but I would also like to address this, that they could not get access to contraceptives use because they're not aware of it. Asha do not want to talk about contraceptives to adolescents because parents do not want to talk about it. Okay?
Schools also.
Schools also don't want to talk about it. But what the point that I want to make here is that we need to make our children aware about what is sexuality education.
Yes.
Yeah. And I would like what the World Health Organization uses, comprehensive sexuality education. That's what's the term they use. It talks about, from the initial phase, about respect. It talks about consent.
Yes.
It talks about that space that you have. Then it actually talks about, it actually strengthens you how to can actually make informed decisions as a teenagers, So that's what it talks about. So if I'm aware about all of these consequences, if I'm going to have a sexual relationship with someone, and I know that there might be pregnancy, there might be STI, STD, or HIV, we don't know, right? These have all come. If I'm aware of that, but still I still take the step to have sexual relationship, that is my choice.
Yeah.
No one can stop that person. But then studies have found that if I'm adolescent, I'm aware about this, I'll abstain from it.
Yeah.
So that is something that they, that is what we call informed choices or informed decisions that the teenagers. So that is very important. That's why we want to do stress on this comprehensive sexuality education about informed decisions that these teenagers can take. Yeah.
So yeah, the end goal of this, the main motive of this podcast is also to spread knowledge and information so that the teenagers out there watching do make informed choices. And we're not here to tell them don't do this, don't do that. It's at the end of the day, it's all your choices.
Yes.
You are all grown up.
Right.
And you know exactly what you're getting into. So before getting into it, I mean, make sure you are making informed choices.
Right. That is important.
Yeah.
That is important. Rather than say, don't do this, don't do that. If you say don't, I mean, let's think about
want to do
it's about when we are adults.
Yeah.
The moment you say don't, it means yes,
Yeah.
I have to do it. So we don't want to say don't. We want to say choice is yours,
Yeah.
but this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You make that choice.
Yeah.
So let the adolescents decide.
Decide.
And I find through my personal experience with adolescents, for those who, when they've got this education, then they actually think twice about it.
Yeah.
Then they think about it. Shall I do it? Shall I not do it? Because now I know, now I'm aware, right? Unlike before, I just explored it. But now I know. So then I have to think twice about it because they're very much capable to think about it.
Yeah.
Unless they are aware about it. Yeah.
So, I mean, are there any other impacts that you have found through your field work? Impacts of teenage pregnancy?
Yeah, parenting would be a challenge for them.
Yeah.
Parenting would be a challenge for them.
That's why you spoke about nurturing.
Yes, nurturing, yes. So parenting and nurturing will come. And then what are the other impacts that we found in the studies? Is there anything that
Stopping from school, then
Yeah.
the education part. We spoke about.
Another impact I would say is a self-esteem.
Yeah, it's a
So
big thing.
it become a challenge for them where they don't have that confidence to move to actually be have a future goal or a future plan. Now I'm stuck with my child. So my whole life is like being a mother now.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't have that kind of a future anymore because everyone around me have told me that's it. You're a mother. You take care of the child now.
Yeah.
Right.
This is the end.
So that is the end for them. So their role is to become their role is to be there, and they don't have that future plan unless there's someone who support them.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, we do have cases where they have someone who support them. They do very well in life, no doubt about that. But then how many are in that kind of a situation? How many are fortunate enough to be in such kind of a family who get that kind of support when the family itself are suffering from poverty?
Yeah.
Become difficult, right? Okay. So that is another impact that we see. So they don't have a future plan.
Yeah.
They don't have future goal. So
what about psychologically? I'm sure it must have an impact on them
Of
psychologically
course,
and then mental.
I think it's a stigma attached to being a pregnant mother
Yeah.
because see, it'll not affect the father more than it would affect the pregnant mother. So the stigma attached to it, oh, you are pregnant now, you're having a child now, you have to stop school, you have to start working. That affects the self-esteem.
that affects.
That makes them feel low about themselves. That actually makes them feel, pessimistic about everything else around in their lives.
Yeah.
So that is there, I feel.
That also, in line with what he said, it also found in our studies, it found that, so if I'm very good friends with her, she's pregnant, my parents say, why you be friends with her?
Yes.
Exactly.
Don't be friends with her anymore. No, she's going to teach you.
Yeah.
So then she lose a friend. So for me, since because I have to do what my parents are saying, my guardian is saying, I will cut off. So that's what they say. They lose some of the friendship they cut off. Of course, you have some of the friends who are very rebellious. They'll still continue.
Yeah.
Okay, but then that's what they say.
Yeah.
There is also people of their same age group, they don't want their children to mingle with her because she's a teenage mother. She will teach you, definitely, they will say. She will teach you. So that is the kind of a discrimination, I would say. Not stigma too much, but a discrimination, I would say, that is found in school. And that's why they don't want to continue school. Why do many of our teenage mothers, they do not want to continue school? Although many of the education institutions are very open about it. They can say, you can come, we'll provide that kind of support. But they're not willing to because that is there in the school environment. And that's not what I say. That is what these adolescents are saying.
I mean, there's no harm even if I feel out there, maybe some of the audience who are actually who have gone through going through teenage pregnancy, and you still want to continue your studies, I mean, there's no harm in doing it.
No, there's
Right.
no harm.
If you have the support and
From the family.
from the family
And
and
education institutions also are
Yeah.
supporting.
They
it.
are
Somewhere or the
there
other,
is it
They are
no
supporting.
no rules that say, oh, you can't continue studies
Right.
if,
Yes, yes.
if you're pregnant or anything like that. That's like
For example, if we talk about Martin Luther also, we provide the PDDP, pre-degree diploma, whereby students who, let's say, they could not complete class 12 because they got pregnant or something like that, they can actually come and avail that diploma. And then right after that, they continue in our institution itself for their bachelor's and master's degree. So those
That's
type
very-
of support are available to students.
Okay. But I feel like most of them out there are not aware of such initiatives taken by the education department or health department in helping support teenage mothers or helping curb this problem that we're facing.
Yes, yes. We need to support them just like the, that we've seen earlier about, can I talk to a counselor?
Yeah.
Again, the word counseling here in our society, it's like, if you go for counseling, it means you have a problem.
Yeah. There's something wrong with you mentally.
There's something wrong with you. Why are you going for counseling? I think we need to break that as well. I don't need to go for a counselor just because I have a problem. I can just go and chit chat because I just need to talk. And, I just need
let
to talk
out.
about it. It's about
Yeah.
to vent out. As human being, I think there's not a single person of earth who don't have a problem.
Yes.
But how we deal with it, how we cope with it is different from one person to another. Some can cope with it without talking to anyone. Someone, they just need someone to talk to. But doesn't mean that I have a problem.
Yeah.
And the moment we say, you just came from a counselor? Are you sure you're okay? All of this expression makes me say, I don't want to ask them to a counselor. People will see that there's something wrong with me. So I think we need to break that as well. We need to be very open to that. Counseling is very normal.
Yeah. Yesterday when we had a topic on mental health, I was just saying back in my school days when we were sent to a counselor, it means like you did something wrong, you're being disciplined for your actions, and it's not because you want to vent out or talk about your emotions or what is going wrong with you. And once you're sent to the counselor, it means she has done something wrong. She's not behaving in class, or maybe I don't know, she did something.
Yes, she did something wrong. She did something that is a disgrace or something that cannot be coped with. Things like that.
I think you need to understand that we live in a world where our students, our youngsters, our adolescents are actually facing a lot of stresses. If it's not from family, it could be from their academics, it could be their peers, it could be a lot of other things. Even it can even be, a relationship with the significant other. So we have to be able to give them that space to share about what they're going through, and they should understand that these are available to them. Such services are there for them. Schools, it is mandatory for them to have licensed counselors now. Colleges as well, universities as well. In fact, now there are talks about having counselors even in workplace. So that is happening even in our university as well. It's happening now that we are planning to have counselors even for teachers as well. So that is a very good initiative because everybody goes through something or the other. Just like what you said, everybody goes through something. So we need to be able to help them with counselors, and they should know that it is okay to ask for help.
What are the measures that you think that can be taken to help curb this problem?
You want to go?
We can start with parents, like as a family. What can a family do?
Okay. I think as parents, as family, family is one of the biggest support system, whether you talk about any issue for that matter. Whether I would like to bring about substance use also, because that is very rampant in our state, So when you talk about substance use or when you talk about teenage pregnancies, family is the biggest support system. I think we need to understand, I think family nowadays, we have to be very open to have discussions like these with the children. Gone are those days where they say, oh, they're too innocent, they don't know anything. That's not the time yet to know, they're too young. There's nothing like too young, And I think as parents, I'm a mother myself, and we need to actually start bring up these topics as early as 10 or 11, or the moment the child start asking about the changes in the physical body, we need to start open about that rather than saying, hey, what nonsense question are you asking? You're too young. That is not the right question for the kids. Because the moment we say that, that is a time that I can give you assurance that the child will never come to you again to ask for anything, because you have actually blocked it, because you already become very judgmental to the child. So we have to start having discussion from the time with the children, by the time they start asking about the changes, we need to start talking about it in a very subtle manner, maybe not very, very open about everything, but whatever they ask. The scariest things about us adults, we feel that when the child asks about one thing, we have actually overthink about what is the next. Oh, if I answer this, they might ask this. But the kids, they would ask this, you just answer that. And let's see, if they ask, then we will think about how to respond. So we have to be open about this. We need to start talk about healthy relationships. I think relationships is so important nowadays, especially with after COVID, where every child have now access to mobile phone, and we find that teenage pregnancy is very high during the COVID days, during the COVID-19, during the lockdown of 2 years, 2020 and 21. Teenage pregnancy is very high. And how do they meet? We realize, how do they meet? Through phones. Because they could get access now through phones. And they're so glued into their phones that they do not have that kind of a social relationship anymore. We cannot deny that the fact that as parents nowadays, we are so busy with our own work, right? We do not have time to spend time with the children, to talk with them. So children, they say, okay, mama and papa, or, my mothers, they're all busy. So we don't have that kind of conversation, attention. So maybe we can start having this conversation, start talking about if they are teenage. I think there's no harm talking about the sexuality education with the children, start talking about it in a very, or something about, hey, do you like someone? Do you like someone? If you like, why don't you tell me about it? Maybe we can talk about it. How serious is this? Things like that, So I think these are very important, that it's casual talk.
I may add to that is that we are actually protecting our children when we talk about sex, because now they'll be making informed choices. For example, like Ma'am has said that, sexuality, attraction happens as young as, actually it happens as young as 5 or 6 years old. Attraction. That's why we spoke about we spoke about that, having puppy love. It can start as 5 or 6 years old. So if we start, let's say for example, something as simple as naming our private parts correctly.
Oh, this is something.
Even in Kasi language also, we don't have a proper name for our private parts. So if we start not shunning, if we start to speak about it in a friendly manner, not being scared about talking about our private parts also, that will just change their mindset. That's the first step. And we are protecting them in the sense that if you look at statistics, child sexual abuse has been very high during COVID. If we take that step, we are protecting our children, and our children will be more familiar and more happy to come, not happy of course, but they'll be more comfortable to come and talk to us that somebody has touched me the wrong way. So all of these things, all of these factors are there. We are protecting our children when we talk about all of, the sexual parts, if we talk about what sex is, having healthy relationships, that is there.
And if I may add also, perhaps sometimes we have also gone to communities to talk about the parents about adolescents, and they say, how do we deal with adolescents? We don't know how to talk to them. So they're like, how do we talk to them? And we explain to them about this whole physical changes that takes place, and then how to talk to them. And we do that. If parents, if any communities feel that, because parents sometimes they find it difficult. I really understand. For those who are not trained, I really understand. It's not easy to talk about these to their children. How do even to start with? We could say confidently because we are trained. Otherwise, before also we're like, how do we say it? How do we start this conversation? So, but it's very important that if they feel that they need some kind of a training community level, we do that. We can actually train, just to have a dialogue with these parents who have, and how to talk to children about this. We have done that in few communities, and parents, they come forward, they say, now I know how to talk to my child. Now I know what's wrong with my child. Now I know exactly how to go and talk with them, So they need that. So even parents also, not to blame them entirely, but they also need that kind of support, because not all of them are trained on it. Not all of them can really understand, talking to a layman person. So we do those kind of things also,
So what about, we've touched on what families and parents can do to help, help curb this problem. And what about as a society, what can we do to help prevent teenage pregnancy, and also to help support teenage parents?
If we look at it from the point of view of the government, what can the government do at a government level? providing trained professionals to talk about reproductive health, comprehensive reproductive health and life skills, training the teachers, and the teachers will take these sessions with the students. Training the teachers who might even go into community also and talking to parents. So that also can happen from the government side. So see, the thing is, there might be many trained professionals, but without resources, we cannot move forward. Going to a rural area, let's say to a village as far as Talau, let's say for example, it is so far. Who's gonna pay us for that? We need money. So maybe from that point of view, let's say government can do that. Maybe from the point of view of an educational institution, having reproductive health part of the curriculum, but not just having it there, but actually taking the classes.
Take initiative to have it. They can have kind of a workshop mode also. You know?
Yeah.
They can have a workshop mode. Just to share, recently I'm being part of this team with the MIG training, and it's so interesting to see that these teachers, they've come for this training, and after the 1 week training they realize that it's so important. It's so helpful. Then they say we now know how to actually talk to the adolescents. And I really like the steps that they have taken, because they have focused basically on life skills education and relationships and HIV and things like that. They've discussed that, and that is a big initiative, big step that has been taken. But if this program could be, if it could be spread out to the various communities, to various schools, at the community level, it can be done. If they feel that it's too difficult to them to be add up to the curriculum, maybe it's have kind of a workshop mode as well. So it's also for the education institution to take that step, the initiative. They can have about 3 days or 3 days, like a fun days and all of that. They have good trained facilitators, talk about it, but they do not have to be scared, because I remember there's this one group that I spoke to. They said that, oh, we thought that you're talking them to teach our kids about how to have sex. I said no.
Most parents.
Yes, I said no. Then after we have sat the whole workshop, then they realized, so that is it. We taught them how to take informed decisions again, informed choices, informed decisions. That is important.
Yes.
Yeah.
What are the other measures that educational institution can take into helping navigate the adolescence periods and making sure that problems like these don't come up again?
Life skills, licensed counselors, life skills education. These are already there in place actually. We already have them as part of, it's mandated now by the government. We have to have them. So these are already in place. So it's just about, the factor of implementing.
Yes.
Implementing.
And how open
are you to the
open
concept?
are you to talk about this at the schools level? Or how open are parents to actually talk about life skills education, about decision making, about critical thinking, about about healthy relationships. Teenagers come to us and talk about relationships. It's sad to say that many of the teenagers, they don't even realize that they are in a toxic relationship. That is something that we need to talk about it. They said that, oh, I love this person so much, So if I love this person, I'm going to do anything, whatever this person asks, out of love, right? So they don't realize that they are in a toxic relationship. And we need to actually, tell adolescents, guide. I don't want to use the word teach, but I would say guide these teenagers to understand about what is a healthy relationships. What is healthy relationships, no? Because many of them, they don't. They really don't understand. And that's the cases through our personal experiences. These are the cases that we have got. They don't really know that they are in a toxic relationship. They said that, no, I love the person. So these are something that we can start
Especially for girls.
Yes, for
We
girls.
are more emotional.
Yes. Very emotional. Boys also emotional. I'm not saying they're not, but it's just that boys, they don't want to express. They tend to suppress. They love to suppress. So that's what we see in boys. But when we talk about the emotional development, I don't know if there's any other studies, but throughout the research or studies that have done so far, we find that emotional development is the same for both boys and girls. But it's just the way. But girls, we have been taught, how to express. From the time you're very young. If you fell down, oh, you fell down as a girl, no? It's all right, cry. If a boy fell down, no, you're a boy, you're not supposed to cry. Simple thing as that. Simple thing as that we start telling them right from the time they're very young. So it's important that we teach our sons and daughters the same thing. And I always say this, that in this day of age, it's very challenging to have sons, I would feel, than daughters. We become overprotective of our daughters, but not of our sons. But our sons are so vulnerable to many of the problems that we see in the society. We see many of the problems that we see in the society, whether we talk about substance use or whether we talk about any kind of delinquent act, we see it's happened in boys. It's happened in boys. I'm not saying it's not common in girls, it's there, but it's more common in boys. Perhaps maybe there's something wrong that we need to reflect as parent. I need to reflect myself as a parent as well. Have I actually done justice to the parenting for my son and my daughter? Is it the same or have I done it differently?
But I feel if we do look really quickly, there is a difference on how we parent a girl child and a boy child. So, yeah. Do you have any, I mean, we've talked about, I think we've covered all the topics today. And do you have any message for our listeners and viewers out there? Something, a note that you would like to leave on?
Yeah, what I would say is that for you youngsters, young boys and young girls, please talk about what you're going through. And you have people around you who are ready to help you. Could be your parents, if they're not around, could be your siblings. But remember that having friends is good, but going to an adult is so much better when you have problems, because an adult is somebody who is more experienced in life, I would say. Go to your teachers. Go to, if not a parent, let's say, go to your uncle, your aunt, somebody you feel safe and comfortable with. Go to that person. That is the message we have.
Or what, contrary to what we say, what we call it as a safe adults. Yes. You know, so a safe adult is someone that we can identify from our group, someone that we can trust, someone that we feel that we can count to. But in order to have that safe adults, we need to be that safe adults. Are we ready to be that safe adults as adults ourselves? Are we be ready to be a safe adults for any person around us, for any adolescents? You know, it can be my daughter or my son or my niece or my nephew, my sister, my my cousin, whoever it is. Are we ready to be safe adults? So when we talk about being a safe adult, it's not as easy as it is. She spoke about adolescents, but I'm going to talk to adults. If we want to be safe adults, means we have to be open to these things. Meaning that we have to be open to the sense that if adolescents come to me, I should not be judgmental. By nature, we are very judgmental in approach. You know, I see everywhere we are being so judgmental.
And the first reaction is always anger.
That yes, we need to remove that judgmental approach. We are not here to judge. And what right do we have also to judge any other person for that matter, you know? So that is important as adults. And that is a message for me also. Am I ready to be a safe adult to any child for that matter? To raise a child, it needs a village. So we can all be parents, not necessarily parents, but anyone around us, are we ready to be that safe adults? Because once we have that, then the adolescents will say, oh, I know who is a person that I can go and talk to. And that's in line with what you said. Go to that person whom you can share with. That is one of the preventive factors, you know, that we can prevent teenage pregnancies.
Thank you so much. I think with that note, we will conclude today's episode. I hope the listeners and viewers out there who have watched this episode, you have learned something, you've picked up something from this episode, and make informed decisions and know the consequences of what you are about to do. You are grown up enough to understand what's right and what's wrong and what you want in life. There's so much to experience. I mean, we shouldn't just give up for a moment of, you know, yes, mistake, but then if we do make mistake, make sure you know the pros and cons and
Informed decisions. That's right.
Informed decisions.
It's all about that.
Everything comes with the consequences. And are you ready to bear the consequences? This is the question.
If you're ready to bear, go ahead with it. Nobody will stop you. Yes.
So thank you so much again for being here. It was like such a wonderful conversation.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you to the listeners and viewers also. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment down below on what you think of today's episode. And if you have any problems and you want to share, if not publicly and you want to share anonymously, we will be providing a link for you in the description. And tune in for our future episodes. And I hope you enjoyed this one. This has been your host, Evangeline, signing off. Thank you so much.